Hi, this is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. Ray and I were just having a funny little conversation, which always makes for an interesting transition into these episodes.
I was making fun of her because even she couldn't read her own handwriting.
This is true. I was taking a look at my notes and I was like, what the fuck was I trying to say? So anyway, on to today's topic. Today's topic really came from a conversation that I had with a gal in Clubhouse. We were talking about something and, I was talking about circling back around with all the women that I interviewed for the book to get the where are they now, what are they doing kind of updates, and then profiling them over the next couple of months as part of, year two's promotion of the book. I thought it would be super fun. And then she, Kathy, asked me, well, how have I changed since I don't know if it was whether I wrote the book or whether when I published the book, but really she just stopped me in my tracks because I really hadn't reflected on how I've changed. Now I've thought about what I've done, what I've learned, which I'll talk a little bit about, but really how have I changed in the last, 15, 16 months since I finished the final draft and submitted it for final editing, and then recorded the audiobook, and then moved through the whole pre-publication, post-editing process, which was not a small process. And then over the last year, really doing the marketing. And I'm procrastinating a little bit on responding to that because it's a hard thing to reflect on. I'm not one to really sit and go, how have I changed? I think the changes have been subtle, but over time noticed. And the word that I couldn't read in my writing was settled. I feel a lot more settled and content with myself in the last 15 or 16 months. Now, I don't know how much of that has to do with the research that I did for the book. I don't know how much of it has to do with the podcast interviews that I did between September and December of last year, where I did deeper dives into some of the topics in the book, as well as topics that I completely missed, like death and grief. And I'd have to go back and look at all of the different episodes. But I just feel a lot more settled. The studies show that if we women at 45 are at our lowest point from a happiness perspective. And so with the happiness curve, we go down and then we come back up. And I'm wondering now at 50, if somehow I'm on the other side of that happiness curve, and as a result, I feel much more settled and much more content. It doesn't mean that I'm not done working on myself. It doesn't mean I have everything figured out, but I do feel on most days a lot less angsty, discontent. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I have better control over certain things, although in the parenting category, definitely not control over the beings that we are parenting.
No comment.
So then that got me thinking about what have I learned? Well, we're talking specifically around the book. I learned that promoting a book is a lot of work, and it can, you can spend hours every day promoting a book and still not feel like you're making any sort of progress. I've been tracking book sales on all the different platforms for the last year. I've recently started tracking social media, and whether it's followers, clicks, etc., just to see, what's changing or what's not changing. And hopefully at some point I will take that information to drive some different activity. I realized that year two, I couldn't keep doing more of the same, especially with COVID, because I can't go out and do the speaking events that are really good drivers for book sales, which I think I've talked about before. And so I'm looking for other things in order to drive some traffic and some conversation, because piloting your life isn't just a book, it's a movement. And I want more people to engage and talk about things and come together and build community and feel less isolated and alone, and maybe make some friends along the way. So that kind of touches on a couple of the things that we know set us up for success later on in life, which is a little bit of exercise, purpose and meaning in getting up, and deep and meaningful relationships and friendships. So Just launched the book club for September, which I don't know if I've mentioned on the YouTube channel. I know I've mentioned it out on social media. So finally got the blog post written this morning, pushed that out. I've got the links on Pinterest, and so I'll be focusing on figuring out how to do invites for some virtual book club conversations sometime in the next couple weeks. And towards the latter part of the month, we will be talking about the first book, which is Big Friendship: How to Keep Each Other Close by Aminatou Sow and Anne Friedman. This seems to be on the list for a couple of folks, largely because I think they've been doing a bit of a virtual press tour. So it's out and about. So hopefully you can grab yourself a copy, whether it's an ebook. I don't know if they did the audiobook. If they did, I'd wonder if they did it themselves and it kind of talked back and forth in different voices. Or, paperback. Or actually, this is hardbound. I went ahead and I bought that through a Black woman-owned bookstore. I'll go ahead and put a link to a page where I list some bookstores that you can purchase your books from. I'm trying not to buy anything through Amazon, period, but especially not books. So I did create a blog post on that, and I'll go ahead and include the link in there, because if we're going to be intentional about our spending, if we're going to be intentional about the people in our lives, then we should be intentional about with our spending, who gets our money. So I'll go ahead and put a link in there. Another thing that I've learned is that the book awards are a complete scam and a complete racket. And I know I've talked about this before, but I now have concrete evidence of the scam with the most recent one, the IPI Living Now Evergreen Awards. When I got the information that I won gold and then like the follow-up stuff, basically what it was sales funnel to like $1,500 and $2,500 packages to help promote the book, and to even get a copy of the award, an electronic copy to push on places. They were charging between, $50 and $150 just to be able to have that image to put out there. I pushed back, and apparently other people did, so I can at least get the low res image for free. They've already sent that to me, but if I want the high res to do stickers or anything for the books, that's going to be, I can't remember, it was $120 or $250. It was just like totally ridiculous. So that's something that I learned. Did not expect that. Oh well, live and learn. I also learned I love to write, and in thinking about what's next, I've been talking about my next book. I have not set aside time to do much in the way of reading or research or anything else, because my consulting work is really picked up, and it's really hard for me to be in the two places. So as a result, I'm going to carve out 10 minutes every day to write fiction, because that's the other thing, is that I write nonfiction all the time. I write technical stuff, I write the blog posts and the newsletter, and that's all easy. But writing fiction, I think
it's a whole other kettle of fish.
It is a whole other kettle of fish. And so what I want to do is set aside 10 minutes every day to just write, to play with language, to really kind of build that, because
it's a muscle.
It's a muscle. Yeah. So I will be doing that. So going back to Kathy's question, it's just like, how have I changed? Well, I think I'm a lot more willing to explore and experiment. I mean, look, I launched this YouTube channel at the beginning of the year. I think prior to writing the book, I probably wouldn't have thought about the hashtag OneBraveThing and really trying to do something every single day to build that bravery muscle. And so I've learned about that. I've learned about, I keep coming back to learning rather than changing. I don't think who I am has changed. I think I'm re-becoming who I was before all the social stuff and the professional stuff really influenced and changed me into somebody that I had really didn't sit well with me. So I think they've talked about it being an unbecoming as much as a becoming. And so I think that's probably how I've changed, is just continuing to become more of who I am and less of who the world expects me to be. Right, you just had a question?
Are you still doing the One Brave Thing every day?
Absolutely. So every day in my Silk and Sonder planner, which September is observation. So I have One Brave Thing on my habit tracker still, and what I do is with my One Brave Thing is I record it up at the top of the weekly thing. So even though it says, I think it says one thing, I've changed it to One Brave Thing. So yeah, every day I do one brave thing. Some things are easier and harder than others, but...
What'd you do today?
What did I do today? I created all the book club stuff and I put that out into the world. I mean, that was a little scary to put that out there. You know, recording the YouTube video is always a brave thing. Every single, twice a week and pushing that out. It's a little scary. So, and then the other brave thing I did today was I pushed back on something. Somebody wanted to interview me around something and we went back and forth, and then finally today I was like, you know what, this is not sitting well. This is not a good fit. So I crafted an email, sent it off, and just said thank you for your understanding. So that was a bit of a brave thing, rather than following through on something because I said I'd do it. The thing is that it moved away from what I agreed to, and I was no longer comfortable. And so that was my one brave thing for today. All sorts of things.
So your 3 brave things.
I give myself credit for more than one so. Anyway, COVID has made, what I've learned through COVID over the course of last year is that being on the Corona coaster is hard. But I am resilient and I'm pretty much able to deal with just about anything, and a lot of things have been thrown at me as we've launched Adam off to college, gone back for a second year, continue to deal with the trials and tribulations around that. It's a lot, but I'm trusting myself more, and that's probably another thing that's changed, is just really, really trusting myself. Have you seen any changes, Ray? I've just gotten more annoying to you.
I don't know if that's a change in me or a change in you.
Oh, it's totally a change in you. It's so appropriately 15 and 16-year-old.
It might be a change in both of us.
Pretty sure it's age appropriate that, I don't think, I have not changed so much that the way that I operate would be any more annoying. I think at 16, you being annoyed by your mother is totally age appropriate. Which is why I don't let it bother me nearly as much as it could. I think that's just about all that I have on the topic. I really look forward to circling back, and it's been suggested to me that maybe I should do some of these interviews with these women on video and then share them on video. I don't know how willing they are going to be to do that, and I don't even know technically how we would do that. So that's something else, Ray, you'll have to figure out. So, but once we do, we will get those out. In the meantime, I'm highlighting all of the women and all the women that I interviewed for the book. I suppose I should be holding this up more as reminders to go get the book if you haven't already gotten it, or to reread it. Now might be a good time. September's kind of a new start, new year. If you haven't read it in a year, maybe it would be time. You might get something more out of it.
What do you mean September's a new start?
What do you mean?
It's the friggin' middle of the year.
But it's not, because school starts up in September. For a lot of people, it's like the beginning of a new year.
And people who are still in school are your target market.
No, but they may be parenting kids who are in school. So there's always this, we talked about phase 3 of the Corona coaster was you guys going back to school. Mm-hmm. So... Anyway, I think that's just about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I love all of your comments, so feel free. I think I at least heart or respond to all of them. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you think there's somebody who might be interested in this, please share it with them. And unless Ray... Nothing. Ray has class.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up.
So take some risks, let go of perfection, and above all else, have some fun.